The mother everyone called weak raised the child they threw away. Until the truth came home, she took in a baby no one wanted, worked nights to keep him safe, and stayed silent while her family mocked her. 20 years later, the boy they abandoned returned with a name powerful enough to shake them all. My name is Grace. I was 34 when my family told me I was throwing my life away. Not because I had committed a crime. Because I opened my apartment door at 213 in the morning and found my younger sister, Jenna, standing there with a newborn baby in her arms and terror all over her face. It was raining in Raleigh that night. Hard rain, the kind that makes the whole street shine under porch lights. Jenna was 26, beautiful, spoiled, and used to being rescued. She had spent her whole life making mistakes and calling them emergencies. My mother always ran to her. My brother Cole always defended her. I was the reliable one, the one who fixed things and did not ask who broke them. The baby was wrapped in a hospital blanket. Tiny, red-faced, breathing in little uneven sounds, Jenna pushed him into my arms before I could speak. "I can't do this, Grace." I looked down at him. "What do you mean?" "I mean I can't be a mother, not now, not with my life. I have a chance to start over in Atlanta." I stared at her. "Jenna, you gave birth 2 days ago." Her face twisted like I had insulted her. "I know what I did." "No," she stepped backward. "I just need you to keep him for a few weeks until I figure things out." I looked at the baby again. His eyes were closed. His fist had curled around one corner of the blanket like he was holding on to the only world he knew. "What's his name?" Jenna swallowed. "I didn't put one on the form yet." That was the first time my heart broke for him. "A baby with no name, no plan," I said. "Come inside." Jenna shook her head. "My ride is waiting." That was when I saw the car at the curb, a man I did not know, engine running, headlights on. I held the baby tighter. "You're leaving tonight." She looked away. "I'll call you." She did not kiss him goodbye. She just ran through the rain, got into the car, and disappeared. I stood in the doorway holding a child nobody had chosen, and something inside me became still, not calm, not peaceful, decided. I closed the door and whispered, "You are not unwanted." I named him Miles by sunrise. By noon, my family had arrived. My mother, Linda, cried loudly, but not for the baby. She cried because of the scandal. Cole paced my living room, saying Jenna was confused and needed patience. My Aunt Tricia said the baby should go to foster care before I became attached. I sat on the couch with Miles sleeping against my chest. My mother said, "Grace, you are not thinking clearly." "I am. You work at a preschool. You barely make enough for yourself." "I'll get another job," Cole scoffed. "So you're going to ruin your life for Jenna's mistake?" I looked at him. "No, I'm going to protect a child from everyone calling him one." My mother's face hardened. "You always do this. You make yourself a martyr." I adjusted the blanket around Miles. "No, martyrs want applause. I want formula and diapers." Nobody laughed. They expected tears, drama, begging. They expected me to hand him over once they reminded me how hard life would be. Instead, I asked my mother to move her purse because it was on top of the diaper bag. That was the first boundary. There would be many. The first year was brutal. I worked mornings at Bright Path Preschool and evenings at a diner near Wake Forest Road. I slept in pieces. I learned to warm bottles with one hand and cry silently while singing lullabies. Money was always tight. Formula cost more than I expected. Daycare was almost impossible, so my neighbor, Mrs. Alvarez, watched Miles between my shifts for $50 a week. My family offered advice, not help. My mother said, "You chose this." Cole said, "Don't come asking us for money." Jenna texted once after 3 months, "Is he okay?" I replied with a photo of Miles smiling in a yellow onesie. She answered with a heart emoji. That was all. At night when Miles cried, I carried him through my apartment and whispered, "You will be safe, you will be loved, you will never wonder if someone wanted you." Some promises are expensive. I paid that one every day. When Miles was 9 months old, I filed for guardianship. Jenna ignored the first paperwork, then the second, then the court date. The judge asked if I understood what I was taking on. I looked at Miles, chewing on my cardigan sleeve, and said, "Neither is love." 2 years later, the adoption was finalized. I walked out of the courthouse with Miles on my hip and papers in my hand. His name was Miles Grace Bennett, my son, not by blood, by choice. That day, I bought a grocery store cupcake and stuck one candle in it. Miles clapped frosting all over his high chair. I cried harder than I had cried the night Jenna left him, because that time they were happy tears. Update 1: Miles was 5 when Jenna decided she was ready to be seen as a mother, not ready to be one. There is a difference. She came back to Raleigh engaged to a man named Parker. Parker came from money, polite family, big church wedding planned. Jenna had apparently told him she had placed her son with family during a difficult chapter, and that we all had a beautiful co-parenting relationship. Beautiful. That word almost made me laugh. She called me on a Tuesday like we had spoken the week before instead of almost 3 years earlier. "I want to see him." I was packing Miles's lunch. "No," she went quiet. "Excuse me. You don't get to disappear for 5 years and show up because you're engaged. He's my son." I closed the lunchbox slowly. "He is my son, legally, emotionally, daily." Her voice sharpened. "You turned him against me. He doesn't know you." That made her angry because it was true. By Friday, my mother called. "Grace, don't be cruel. Jenna made mistakes, but she deserves a chance." A chance to do what? To know her child. She had 5 years. She was young. So was he. Silence. Then my mother said the sentence I never forgot. "You act like giving him breakfast makes you his real mother." I looked across the kitchen. Miles was sitting on the floor building a crooked tower of blocks. He looked up and smiled at me with peanut butter on his cheek. I said, "No, Mom. Waking up every day and choosing him makes me his real mother." Then I hung up. Jenna did not take no well. She showed up at Bright Path Preschool during pickup, wearing a soft pink dress and holding a stuffed bear with a blue ribbon. I saw her before Miles did. She waved like she was in a movie. "Hi, baby." Miles stepped behind my leg. "Mom, who is that?" That one word hit Jenna in the face. "Mom." She looked at me like I had stolen something. I put my hand on Miles's shoulder. "This is Jenna. She's someone from our family." Jenna's eyes filled instantly. "Someone from our family, really?" I kept my voice calm. "You need to leave." She crouched and held out the bear. "Miles, sweetheart, I stepped between them. "No." Parents were watching. Teachers too. Jenna whispered, "You can't keep him from me." "Yes, I can, and I will." She stood up fast. "You're evil." "No, I'm prepared." I pulled the adoption order from my bag, not because I carried it every day. Because I knew my sister. She stared at the papers. Her face changed. Shame first. Then rage. That evening, Parker called me. Jenna had given him my number. He sounded confused, not cruel. "Grace, Jenna says there's been some tension." I said, "Did she tell you she abandoned Miles as a newborn and missed the adoption hearing?" Silence. A long one. Then he said, "No." I sent him the court documents, not to punish Jenna, to protect Miles from becoming a prop in her new life. The engagement ended 2 weeks later. Jenna blamed me. My mother blamed me. Cole texted, "Hope you're proud." "You destroyed her future." I replied once. "No, I protected mine." Then I blocked him. Update 2: By the time Miles was 13, he knew the truth in age-appropriate pieces. I never told him Jenna was evil. Children should not have to carry adult bitterness. I told him he was born to someone who could not care for him, and I became his mother because I loved him from the beginning. He asked once, "Did she not want me?" That question knocked the air out of my chest. I sat beside him on his bed, surrounded by baseball cards and math homework. I said, "She was not ready to be a mother." He looked down. "But you were." I smiled sadly. "No, but I was ready to love you. I learned the rest." He leaned against me then. Still my little boy, even with longer legs and a voice starting to change. Middle school was hard for him, not because he was troubled, because the world has a way of poking children where their stories are tender. A classmate found an old social media post where Jenna had written about losing access to her son because of family betrayal. By lunch, 3 kids had asked Miles if his real mom wanted him back. He came home quiet, too quiet. I found him in his room staring at the adoption day photo. Me holding him outside the courthouse, him with cupcake frosting on his shirt. He asked, "Are you my real mom?" I sat on the floor beside him. "Yes, but not my birth mom." "No. What if people say that means less?" I took his hand. "Then those people don't understand motherhood." He looked at me. "What is motherhood then?" I thought about diapers, court papers, fevers, lunchboxes, rent notices, bedtime prayers, birthday candles, and every night I stayed awake when he was sick. I said, "Motherhood is who stays." He cried then. I held him until he stopped. That night I emailed the school, not dramatic, not angry, clear. The principal called the next morning. The students were spoken to. The post was reported. Jenna heard about it somehow and messaged me from a new account. Maybe if you hadn't lied, he wouldn't be confused. I stared at the screen. For years, I had protected Miles from her chaos by staying quiet. But quiet was not the same as weak. I replied, "Do not contact me or discuss my son online again. If you continue, I will involve an attorney." She answered, "Your son. Keep telling yourself that." So I did involve an attorney. The cease and desist letter cost $400. I paid it in 2 installments. It was worth more than any vacation I never took. After that, Jenna disappeared again. But my mother did something unexpected. She came to my apartment one Sunday afternoon with a casserole in her hands and guilt all over her face. Miles was at baseball practice with Mrs. Alvarez's grandson, so it was just us. She stood in the doorway and said, "I was wrong." I did not invite her in right away. "About what?" She looked older than I remembered. "About you, about him, about what makes a mother." I folded my arms. "That took you 13 years. She nodded. "It did." I let her in. We sat at the kitchen table, the same table where I had filled out adoption paperwork and counted grocery money. My mother cried. She said she had protected Jenna because Jenna always seemed fragile and I always seemed strong. I said, "Strong people still need someone beside them." She covered her face. "I know that now." It did not fix everything, but it opened a door. Slowly, my mother became Grandma Linda for real, not perfect, but present. She came to Miles's games. She remembered his science fair. She apologized to him when he was 16, not with details that would burden him, but with honesty. "I didn't understand your mother's love fast enough," she told him. "That was my failure." Miles hugged her. I cried in the car afterward where nobody could see. Final update: Miles is 20 now. He is tall, kind, and smarter than anyone in our family has a right to be. He got a full scholarship to UNC Chapel Hill and chose social work because, in his words, kids need people who know how to fight paperwork and adults. I did not tell him that sentence healed a part of me. Last month, he came home for Mother's Day. I expected flowers, maybe a card, maybe his laundry. Instead, he walked into my apartment wearing a button-down shirt and carrying a folder. Mrs. Alvarez came behind him, then my mother. Then Cole, which surprised me, then Jenna. That stopped me. She looked nervous, older, less polished. Life had softened her sharp edges or maybe just tired them out. I looked at Miles. "What is this?" He smiled. "Trust me." We all sat in the living room, the same living room where my family had once told me to give him away. Miles stood in the center with the folder in his hands. He looked at Jenna first. "I asked you here because I'm done letting silence write my story." Jenna swallowed. "Miles, I never meant," he raised one hand. "Please let me finish." She closed her mouth. He turned to everyone. "I know how I came into this family. I know who gave birth to me. I know who stayed. I know who paid. I know who lost sleep, lost friends, lost family support, and still never made me feel like a burden." My throat tightened. He opened the folder. "I found copies of the adoption papers when I was 17. Mom didn't hide them. She kept everything because she believed I deserved the truth when I was ready." He looked at me. I also found her old budget notebooks. I closed my eyes. Oh no, he smiled gently. Every diaper, every formula can, every late fee, every extra shift. Every Christmas where she wrote, Miles first, Grace later. My mother started crying. Cole stared at the carpet. Miles continued. I grew up hearing people use the words real mother like biology was the finish line, but biology gave me a heartbeat. My mother gave me a life. I covered my mouth. He pulled out a document. I filed a legal name change last month. It was approved yesterday. I froze. He turned the paper so I could see it. Miles Grace Bennett. He had not changed his first name. He had changed his middle name, Grace. My name. I wanted the world to know whose son I am, he said. I broke then. Completely. The kind of crying where dignity gives up and love takes over. Miles knelt in front of me and took my hands. Mom, you once told me motherhood is who stays. You stayed. I'm only here because you stayed. Jenna was crying too, but quietly. For once, she did not make the moment about herself. She stood and said, Grace, I'm sorry. The room went still. I was selfish, I was scared, but that doesn't excuse what I did. I left him. You raised him. I don't deserve the word mother. Miles looked at her, not cruelly. No, you don't, but you can deserve honesty. She nodded through tears. I know. Cole stood next. He looked ashamed in a way I had never seen before. I called you weak, he said to me. You were the strongest person in this family. I didn't know what to do with that apology, so I simply said, thank you. That evening, Miles took me to dinner, just the two of us. A small Italian place near the park where we used to feed ducks when he was little. He handed me a card. Inside, he had written, You were my first home. You are my real mother. Every good thing in me started with you. I keep that card in my nightstand now, not because I need proof, because some words are worth holding. People think motherhood is soft, and yes, sometimes it is. It is lullabies, forehead kisses, tiny socks, and bedtime stories. But motherhood is also steel. It is standing in court with shaking hands. It is working while sick. It is eating toast for dinner so your child can have chicken. It is letting people misunderstand you because protecting your child matters more than defending your pride. Motherhood is not always birth. Sometimes motherhood is the woman who opens the door at 213 in the morning, takes the baby no one planned to keep, and decides before sunrise that he will never feel unwanted again. I was called weak, but love made me unbreakable, and the child they threw away became the son who brought the truth home. If this story touched your heart, comment below whether you believe motherhood is about blood, love, or who stays. Like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more emotional stories about family, sacrifice, and the love that changes everything.